Hi, and welcome to the financial aid intro and CASFA highlights as part of the Colorado Department of Higher Education's Educator financial aid training that we're doing online. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that then I can go through my presentation. As you can see, my name is Sophie Vogel, and I'm the CASFA Program Manager. I'm going to go through a quick financial aid intro, and then I'm going to talk about the CASFA, what is it and who completes it. I'm going to do a CASFA walkthrough, and then I'm going to provide some of my contact information. So for our financial aid introduction, I want to talk about dependency for the 26-27 financial aid applications. So dependent students require parent contributor information. So generally, this is students who are born on or after January 1st, 2003. Independent students are students who don't require their parent contributor to provide any information. Some examples are students who have military experience or veterans. They're married, their parents, or they have another person that they give care for. They've already completed their first bachelor's degree. They are wards of the court. They're orphans. They've experienced foster care. They're an emancipated minor, or they're in legal guardianship. Additionally, independent students have on at any time on or after July 1st, 2025, they were unaccompanied and either homeless or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless. So another item is, who is my contributor? What is SAI? Contributors who are married filing jointly um, provide one taxpayer record for a financial aid application. Contributors who are married filing separately, both contributors provide taxpayer records. So contributors who are divorced parents gets a little more complicated. So if the parent who financially contributed the most in the last 12 months, they would be the contributor. And if it's equal, if both parents have contributed equally, it's the parent with the greater income and assets. And then again, if that's equal, the parents get to choose which parent decides to be the contributor for the financial aid application. What is SAI? Student Aid Index, or SAI, replaces expected family contribution, EFC. So it's a number that students are going to get after completing a financial aid application that their financial aid office at their college or university is going to use in order to package and award them aid. A little bit of additional information about unusual versus special circumstances. So, unusual circumstances are when the student can't provide parent information. So, students answer yes to the questions on the financial aid application that they have unusual circumstances, and the financial aid office will request supporting documentation. If there are special circumstances, so for example, things have changed since the prior tax year and the family has documentation to prove it, then the student and family is going to provide that directly to the financial aid office. So moving right along to the CASFA. The CASFA is an acronym for the Colorado Application for State Financial Aid. CASFA is for students who are not eligible for federal student aid. Undocumented students or students from mixed status families or other situations who prefer not to share their contributors' personal data beyond Colorado higher education institutions. Students who complete a CASFA are applying for state and institutional aid only, not federal student aid. So students who qualify for federal student aid include U.S. citizens and non-citizens. The website linked on the left-hand side in the QR code will take you to this, a screenshot of the page to the right that talks about eligible non-citizen definition. A few important things to note. U.S. permanent residents are eligible non-citizens. In addition, students who have refugee, asylum granted, conditional permanent resident, Cuban Haitian entrant, conditional entrant, and parolee. Those students, in addition to modified parole requirements for Ukrainians and Afghans, T visa, VAWA, or Federated States of Micronesia or republics. So there are a lot of very specific immigration statuses that are used to determine whether or not a student is eligible for federal student aid, and I highly recommend you go to this website if your student has any questions about whether they'll be eligible or not. So students who use CASFA agree with these statements. They're going to say, I am not a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. I qualify as a Colorado asset student because I've attended a Colorado high school for at least 1 year immediately before graduation or completed a high school equivalency examination in Colorado. And I have continuous and physical presence in Colorado for 12 months before the start of the semester. Students who use the CASFA agree with these statements. They say, I should complete a CASFA if I have financial need, regardless of my Colorado asset eligibility. Also, students who have DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or TPS, which is Temporary Protected Status, those students should use the CASFA. Additionally, there is another group, and this is relatively new for those of you who have some familiarity with the CASFA. Students who use the CASFA will agree that I am eligible for federal student aid, but I'm from a mixed immigration status family or other situation, and I prefer not to share my contributors' personal data beyond Colorado higher education institutions. So a little more detail about the CASFA eligibility expansion. So students from mixed immigration status families or other situations are the ones who can potentially benefit from the CASFA eligibility expansion. So these are students who are eligible for federal student aid, but they have undocumented or potentially non-citizen parent contributors. So if a student qualifies for federal student aid but has concerns about completing a FAFSA, please review the following. First of all, if the parent or spouse contributor ever applied for or used an individualized taxpayer identification number or ITIN, they already provided their information to the federal government. Similarly, if the parent or spouse contributor completed a FAFSA for an older sibling, they already provided their information to the federal government. So, very important to note, not completing a FAFSA is automatically forfeiting any Pell Grant. So that could be up to $7,395 per aid year. And many students, unfortunately, will not be able to afford post-secondary education without a Pell Grant. So, how should you advise mixed immigration status families on filling out a financial aid application? I highly recommend you consider using the President's Alliance for Higher Education and Immigration. This messaging they have, here's the URL and a QR code to link you to their website. They emphasize 5 key points. They want to reassure students about their eligibility for federal student aid. For example, you were born in Colorado, you are eligible for federal student aid, you are a U.S. citizen. And then listen to and address security concerns. If the student or family has concerns, it is really important to listen and hear what they have to say. Respect privacy and avoid directly asking about immigration status. Please make sure you and your colleagues all know that it is not appropriate to directly ask someone about their immigration status. It is up to them as individuals to tell you when they have determined that is a good choice. Number 4, answer questions and consult experts. In this case, the experts would be at the financial aid offices and or potentially immigration attorneys. And then also, finally, talk through the pros and cons of completing a CASFA. And note, in this situation, the parent contributors are the family members who risk danger by sharing their information. So it's really important to include parent contributors in the conversation. So for the 26-27 CASFA, what is needed? Students will need to create a CASFA account using a personal email address, and parents will need to wait until students invite them to be contributors. They can't start on their own. All students and contributors are going to need their 2024 federal income taxes. I recommend students and contributors attend FAFSA CASFA nights to get support and information. The 26-27 CASFA opened October 1st, so it is currently open, and it won't be closing until June 30th, 2027. Really important college affordability messaging is about completing a financial aid application, and specifically one, either FAFSA or CASFA, not both. Students should not complete both financial aid applications in one aid year unless they get explicit information from the financial aid office, because likely their immigration status has changed within that aid year. If your student or students don't want to pay sticker price, which is full price for college, they should apply for financial aid. So if they have any concerns at all about paying full price, they should apply for financial aid. Students who aren't income eligible for a federal Pell Grant could receive state or institutional aid. So again, if you have students who are telling you their parents said they're not going to complete a financial aid application because they're not going to get anything, please reach out to the parents and the students and make sure they understand that a financial aid application is the first and best way to communicate to your college or university that you don't want to pay full price. If you don't apply for financial aid, the college and university, they just assume that you want to pay full price. So that's pretty important. We have a new and improved CASFA that opened on September 8th, 2025. The CASFA no longer has a field for student or contributor address or identification number. So this is a great improvement. In addition, the new CASFA does not require the parent spouse, or the spouse contributors to complete their own accounts. If the parent or contributor is present when the student is completing the CASFA, the contributor can enter information immediately after student section is complete. If the parent contributor is not present, the student will enter the contributor email address, and contributor will use the link they're emailed to access and complete the form. Married filing separately will receive one invite, and parent spouse will have to enter information consecutively. Students and contributors can use the same email address. So we're pretty excited about these positive changes, and we hope that they benefit your students and CASFA stakeholders. Here it is, the new application. There's a URL and also a QR code to get you there. Both the 25-26 and 26-27 CASFA applications are live. New students will start by creating an account, which you see at the bottom. There's an orange circle and an orange arrow pointing to the circle that says create account. If they created an account, a CASFA account in 2024, 25, or before, they will use the same email but need a new password. So we were able to migrate some data from the prior platform. However, we weren't able to migrate all data. You're welcome to search Complete CASFA or CASFA Login, or go to our website, the state website, and then click Start Application to find this as well. So after clicking Create Account, the student hopefully reads these questions, which is just making sure that this is a student creating an account and they don't already have one, so they click Next. The student needs to read the confirmation of understanding. CASFA can only be completed by CASFA can be completed by any student applying only for Colorado state aid and institutional aid. So students who are eligible for federal aid may choose to complete a CASFA, but they will forfeit any federal aid. So Colorado does not require that students are undocumented to complete CASFA. So this is more information. Students should read the confirmation of understanding, and then the answer or the question is, have you read the above statement and understand that you are applying to state and institutional aid with your CASFA and not federal aid? So you should click yes and next. After the student creates their account, they'll receive an email asking them to verify their email. So then they'll enter their login information and receive a verification code via the email to complete the login process. So this is the 6-digit multi-factor authentication that we're getting more and more familiar with. So once you've entered your verification code, then you'll be able to log in. You see that the option to start a new application, paying close attention to if you want to complete a 25-26 application or a 26-27 application or both. CASFA student identity section. Once the student starts the application, they'll be able to navigate between sections using the left sidebar. The sections and questions will mirror the FAFSA. As the sections are completed, check marks on the sidebar will show that they're done. For dependent student parent invitation, if the student is dependent and the parent information is required, they will be prompted to invite their parent to contribute to the form. Parents present with student. They can continue to complete the parent section without needing to access the form via an email invitation. Parent not present. The student will need to correctly type the parent's email address to send the invitation. Review responses. After the student sends the parent invitation, if applicable, they will have the opportunity to review their answers. They can jump back to any section to make edits if needed. And then sign and submit. Contributors will need to check both boxes to agree, then they will be able to sign and submit. Students will see a banner alerting them that their form is awaiting parent input. Awaiting contributor. The student dashboard will show that the CASFA status is awaiting contributor. The parent has not completed their section and submitted. The SAI will not appear until the form is complete and all contributors signed and submitted. So the parent accepts the invitation. The parent will receive an email with the subject, "Help Sophie with their CASFA form." The parent must use the complete application link in the email to access the form. The parent cannot access the form by going to the CASFA site and creating an account. Important, if a parent is using the same device as the student must log out of their CASFA account. Otherwise, the parent will see an error message. So the parent accepts the invitation. After the parent clicks complete application, they'll be directed to enter a verification code to access the student's form. The parent will not create an account, so there's no username and no password. Once they enter the verification code, they'll be taken directly to the parent section of the form. Parent returns to complete CASFA. So if the parent starts to complete the form but pauses before finishing their section, the site will automatically log them out. To continue completing the form, the parent must find the original email invitation and use the complete application link to access the form again. The student is able to sign in and return to the parent invite parent section to send the invitation again. Parents can't use the CASFA sign-in page to log in and continue the form. So for parents filing separately, if the parent selects unmarried and living together, married or remarried, they'll be asked if they file a joint tax return with their current spouse and what their tax filing status was. If they select any option other than married filing jointly, they will be asked to provide information about the parent spouse. So for parents filing separately, unlike the FAFSA, the parent section will continue with the parent spouse questions. The parent spouse will not be separately invited to contribute to CASFA. The parent spouse will sign, the parent will sign and submit, then the parent spouse will sign and submit. After submitting, once student and parents have signed and submitted, they will see a thank you message confirming submission. The student will then be able to log in and see their updated status and SAI on the dashboard. After CASFA status is submitted, the student will see the option to continue and correct application. Students may make changes and resubmit. They should make corrections only after talking to their financial aid office to confirm. So a quick CASFA knowledge check. List one change to the new CASFA that increases immigrant safety. Do you remember one? Next, CASFA doesn't require the answer is CASFA doesn't require students or contributors to share address or identification number. What financial aid application should a student with an F2 visa complete? Sort of a trick question. Seems like maybe they should complete a CASFA. A CASFA is for every student who isn't completing a FAFSA. The student may not be eligible for state-funded financial aid if the student has an F2 visa, for example. What information do students and their contributors need to complete their CASFA? Students and contributors must bring prior year taxes. So the CASFA requires students and contributors to manually enter income information. And actually, we made it all the way through. That is it. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me at sophie.vogel@dhe.state.co.us. Thank you for watching this presentation, and we are excited to continue to educate you through our Educator financial aid trainings. Thanks again.